a lot of top positions. And then meanwhile, this editor over here, he should have been immediately arrested and should have been questioned, not just by the Secret Service, the FBI. Okay, you wrote in a newspaper, you're meeting with the Mossad, and the murder of a U.S. president's being discussed. I was rereading that this morning. I was reading the original paper, looking at it. I'm like, this is crazy. And the guy's out walking around. You have trouble getting on an airplane for no reason. This guy can say, I'm talking to the Mossad, and they're discussing killing the president. And then he's not in trouble. It's wild.
Well, obviously, people like that have very high-level protection in the CIA, in the FBI, in the Secret Service, in the Department of Justice, in Department of Homeland Security. Remember, certainly under Bush Jr., neocons were put in power in all these agencies. So you are correct. He has protection somewhere to be able to get away with this.
Yeah, because he didn't just say option is somebody could kill Obama. He said, yeah, we're having meetings about this, and this is a, don't think I'm joking, option 3. This is a, this is a real option here, and we're looking at it. I mean, that's like, whoa, a guy saying he's representing a foreign country, and, let's look at killing the president, and it's like, oh, well, he resigned, it's okay. 2 final questions, and then any other key tidbits that you'd like to relay to people, Dr. Boyle. We really appreciate your time, and also wanted to tell folks about your books here at the end. But a lot of experts, as you said, all these generals are coming out. Former head of the Mossad's come out. A lot of Israeli generals have said it's a catastrophe, a disaster, could start World War III. I mean, it runs from bad to worse, the whole gambit, but none of it's good. It just goes from disaster to Armageddon. Literal Armageddon, all of this going on, and it's just still moving forward. The troops are massing. The case is being sold just like 2002, 2003 in the March lead up. It's all here, but from your perspective, why is an attack on Iran so disastrous, and why do you think the power structure would be leaning towards doing it?
Well, of course, we also have to understand that the American power elite very well might be considering just sacrificing Israel and its people to let Israel start the attack on Iran, using Israel as their attack dog, which Israel always has been, and then suffer the consequences from the Iranian retaliation, and then we get in there and take out what's left. So it could be, broader than the notion that Israel runs the United States, I don't find very credible. They do pretty much what we tell them to do. Not all the time, not everywhere. But we're the ones really behind the show here. And it could be that we are setting them up to be sacrificed, to take out Iran, and then we will pick up the pieces, which is all that oil and gas in Iran, and complete control and domination of the entire Persian Gulf and Central Asia as well. And this is exactly what Brzezinski recommended in his book, The Grand Chessboard. If you read his Grand Chessboard, it's all in there. So that pretty much is the strategy. It has little to do with Democrats versus Republicans. That's Tweedledum versus Tweedledee. This is the power elite that runs this country. As I said, after 9/11 and the anthrax attacks, they are going for broke to control and dominate the world. And they're going to grab all the oil and gas they can, everywhere they can, and literally break up any states that stand in their way or that have created them problems for them before. Indeed, Wolfowitz, the neocon, had me at the, well, actually was at the University of Chicago when I was there, said this after 9/11. Publicly, he said, we are going to start to break up states. And the first state they broke up was Afghanistan, then Iraq, now Libya, looks like Syria, and then Iran.
But Wesley Clark said that too. He's talked about, he was in the meeting and they said, yeah, we're going after these 8 countries. And
I think that's what the Pentagon, apparently Wesley Clark was at the Pentagon, and that's what they told him. And when Wolfowitz said, we are going to be breaking up states. He was deputy to Rumsfeld. He was the #2 guy in the Pentagon. So that simply confirms what I'm saying. Yes, that's the agenda here. And what is going on, all these states have control of oil and gas and transportation modes for oil and gas. And regretfully, most of them are Muslim. So for that reason, here in the United States, we use Muslims as scapegoats and boogeymen, which is also what we've seen after 9/11. Kind of like what the Nazis did to the Jews. Everyone needs a scapegoat. We have our scapegoat. It's the Muslims here in America, like commies under the bed when I was growing up, and they're the Muslims over there.
Well, I totally agree with you because, I mean, all this stuff, in academic papers is really public. There's kind of the mainstream news that we're all fed, and then there's the establishment communicating with itself. And, I knew this a year ago because of family in the military, but the U.S. is planning the attack. They plan to let Israel start it, take the attack, be the victim. Netanyahu's even bragged in the Washington Times that then he thinks the Israelis will rally around him, even if they don't like him because they're under attack, even though they start it. He'll say he has to. And then the big one that you mentioned, they're going to then use it as a domestic crackdown. And I believe Iran will attack Israel through proxies. That's a no-brainer. But I believe the establishment, and I see them gearing up, is going to stage attacks in Europe, the U.S., and England, and use it to crack down on civil liberties and further expand it. You see them lining up for it. They are gearing up every agency of government for war with the people. It is disgusting.
Vice President Cheney already publicly stated that they were going to blame the next major terrorist attack here in the United States on Iran, no matter who was responsible. So you're certainly correct. There will probably be some type of false flag attack. Blame it on Iran. Use it as justification for war against Iran. Of course, Congress will salute and ship out. We very well might get a formal declaration of war, which we do not have now. But if there is a formal declaration of war by Congress, you might as well kiss the Constitution goodbye. There's an entire title of the United States Code that automatically gets activated and makes the President of the United States of America a constitutional dictator, just like FDR was during World War II. We have not been in that situation yet, although we do know after 9/11, Bush did ask Congress to give him a formal declaration of war, and they refused to do so. They gave him a limited authorization to use military force.
But he showed them with the anthrax attack. He showed them with the anthrax attack a month later.
That's correct. They also had the USA Patriot Act, which is the blueprint for the U.S. police state. That was being held up in Congress by Senators Leahy and Daschle, and all of a sudden they got hit with super weapons grade anthrax coming from illegal U.S. military stockpiles. And media sources also got hit to make it clear to the media that they better not be going after this story. So the media have already always go along with the cover up on the anthrax. Yes.
Yeah, look, Dan Rather got some. It was all their enemies. The guys that took photos of Bush's daughters drunk here in Austin, they got hit.
Right. It was clearly an attempt to terrorize and intimidate the media. Not that they needed all that much intimidation to begin with, since they very rarely report the truth.
Is there any way to defeat this premeditated constellation of evil? I guess the general public has to stop being naive and realize that we have no future if we don't stand up against this. But I'm afraid, Dr. Boyle, it's going to go the way of Germany. People are going to have see the empire, launch World War III, invade all these countries, and then either this empire of evil will succeed or it's going to implode, and then we're going to get invaded by the Chinese. And people say, oh, that'll never happen. Well, if World War III starts and there's nuclear war, my God, I can just feel the gates of hell opening up in front of us.
Well, I'm afraid you're right. You know, if you read Huntington's Clash of Civilization, Huntington was ahead of me at Harvard. I went through the same program that produced that monster. And it does appear that the State Department the U.S. government has been following the blueprint set forth by Huntington in that article, later followed by a book. First take out the Arab and Muslim world, and then move on to China. And at the end of Huntington's book, it concludes with a nuclear war between the United States and China. And that gets into the deployment of all these ABM systems in Europe and around China, in Japan, Korea, whatever. If we strike first, these ABM systems are designed to pick up whatever might be left that the Russians and the Chinese send back at us.
And again, the Chinese president comes out and says, prepare for war with the U.S. I mean, our government is not moving all the nukes over there to play. I mean, it's insane. It is shocking to know America's been captured by evil, and that we now, Dr. Boyle, we are living in an aggressive, crazy empire that's got super weapons. I don't know. I mean, thank God the military has been blowing the whistle about the fake Iranian ambassador stuff and all the rest of it, and hopefully cooler heads will prevail. I mean, I've never been for a military coup because those are so dangerous, because you can get something just as bad, and I'm not endorsing that now, but I mean, you know, is there an Operation Valkyrie out there to stop this? Well, you can't, because it's not just a president. It's not Adolf Hitler. It's a whole crew of crooks in every position. How do you stop a cult of criminals that are power mad?
Well, I think you're right that the military, there are sensible people in there, unlike these neocons who are completely irrational, and they understand the consequences of what's happening. And we have to have more people, for example, like Admiral Fallon, who was head of U.S. Central Command and just publicly stated an attack on Iran was not going to happen on his watch. The military they take an oath to uphold the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, and they have an obligation under the Uniform Code of Military Justice to refuse to carry out illegal and unconstitutional orders. And I think, obviously, you can't really expect, people at the bottom of the pyramid there, but I would hope that, people near the top of the military just start making it clear they are not going to carry out these orders because they believe they're either illegal, unconstitutional, or fatally dangerous. That is one hope we have. Meanwhile, we citizens simply have to get organized. We still have our First Amendment rights. We need protests, demonstrations, civil resistance, organization in these elections. Whatever can be done to head off this catastrophe. We are not the Weimar Republic. We're far from it. But it's clear we're moving in that direction. And I don't know how much time we have. I agree with you on that.
Well, and the system knows once they've got a big war going, they can move us way past the Weimar Republic quickly.
Right. Once they get a formal declaration of war, we've all had it. It'll be just like what happened to Japanese Americans in World War II. The Korematsu case, and the Korematsu case is still good law. It's never been overturned by the United States Supreme Court, and indeed, officials of the Bush Jr. administration publicly stated that Korematsu is still good law. And we know that FEMA has the internment camps ready to go. So all they need is a formal declaration of war, and that'll be it.
Yeah, I saw a former CIA director on TV once say, just round up all Muslims, put them in camps in America. And that was a couple of years after 9/11.
Well, and that was the plan that Attorney General Ed Meese had. They had a plan at the Department of Justice to do that, and they were setting up camps to do that. I didn't go see the camps myself, but I do know people I work with who went out and saw these camps in the late 1980s, and they are there. I believe they've now been taken over by FEMA.
No, they have been. Yeah, that's Rex 84. Now, in closing, as you've already given us 35 minutes, Dr. Boyle, we really appreciate the time. I want to talk about some of your